I read a post today where somebody was mixing Let's Get It Started by the Black Eyed Peas into Everybody by the Backstreet Boys. It's a very popular mix that people have been doing as of late. They were asking, what's a good song to mix out of Everybody Backstreet Boys? What's the next song to play? They were looking for suggestions. And there were a lot of people who gave suggestions. I offered mine, which requires some explanation. These are not the rules, okay? This is just what I do. This is my art. This is what I found to be effective. And we all have our own way of expressing this as DJs. If we all did things the same way, it would be incredibly boring out there. So please keep that in mind. I am not preaching that you should do things this way. I'm only sharing with you how I do things. And what you do is up to you. You don't have to do things my way. And if you don't, we're still friends. It's all good. The Rolling Stones and the Beatles are doing very different things, and they always got along pretty good. So, with that being said, usually, if I've got a certain demographic in front of me, I'll get a request for Bye 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 in Sync. It's a popular request for a certain demographic. If I get that request, I know that demographic exists, so I will play the song, but I'll follow it up with Everybody Backstreet Boys. It's my opinion that Everybody Backstreet Boys gets a better response and has better energy than NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye, because I get a more full dance floor when I play the Backstreet Boys song. Going out of the Backstreet Boys, I'll play Wannabe Spice Girls. And that gets a huge reaction. Brand new crowd comes out, and even the guys are participating with this, which I found surprising, but yeah, they love it too. They're jumping around, screaming, sing-along stuff. Out of Wannabe, sometimes I'll do something more 21st century, like Miley Cyrus' Party in the USA, and then I can do all kinds of stuff, Katy Perry or Kesha or whatever. I can even do Chappelle Rowan. It doesn't matter. I'm back in the 21st century and I can do that party music. Something important to note here. I'm using the radio edits of these tracks, and I'm not beat mixing them. I'm playing them back to back. Why? Could you beat mix them? Yeah, you could. But I don't. And the reason I don't is because I feel like these tracks do just fine without any intros and outros, remixes, or anything like that. They stand alone all by themselves, and people will tolerate the entire song without getting bored. They're good sing-along songs. Another reason I do it this way is because when I'm beat mixing something, I'm keeping continuity, and in keeping continuity, I'm keeping the dance floor. And that's a good thing, but sometimes it's cool to break up keys and slight tempo changes and make more abrupt changes for people to take notice and say, oh, what's that? Oh, I like the song. Then they come onto the dance floor. There are a lot of people out there who feel like that you should beat mix everything. You should start at this BPM and end at this BPM. That's just how it goes. You should quick mix everything. You should play remixes of a lot of things. Look, those are excellent tools to have. Those are excellent skills to possess and use. And I do use all of those different methods, but I don't limit myself to those methods. I don't have rules like a lot of people have. I like to break rules as a DJ. I've talked about that before. So playing these songs and letting them stand on their own is something that I kind of got used to doing when I started doing wedding receptions. Back in the late 80s, I was a teenager. Back then we had these terrible, realistic turntables. They were automatic, they were belt drive, they took a long time to spin up. And you risked things like skate when you tried to manipulate the record too much. So you were lucky to just get the record to play sometimes under certain circumstances. Maybe the floor was a little vibraty or whatever the case might be. They weren't brilliant pieces. So mixing was not always a viable option. It usually wasn't. So as DJs, what we had to do was rely more on just programming and playing great music, picking the best songs. When I started working clubs, it was a little different because I had Technics 1200s in front of me and I could mix tracks. It was much easier to do. And I didn't always have to pick the big bangers. I could play filler music here and there because as long as I kept continuity with the beat, the dance floor really didn't change too much. So I think about that when I mix tracks. Sometimes I'll do it when you've got that, I don't know, 128 to 130 stuff. I mean, we all play it, the Pitbull stuff, even Sir Mix-a-Lot or the LMFAO. There's tons of stuff like that. A lot of the EDM tracks are like that. You can beat mix those all night, and you can cut them short as well. Sometimes the whole song stands well on its own. Sometimes people get tired of it, and you need to mix out of it if it's too long. That's kind of why I like to play radio edits of things. But I also like the whole quick mix thing. And a word about quick mix. There are a lot of folks out there who really think that they're pioneers in this. And I hate to burst your bubble, but we've done medleys and mega mixes since before you were born. Okay? They've been out there a long time. They've been out there longer than me. And I'll tell you when I like to do this kind of stuff. If you're doing Mexican events like quinceañeras and things, especially if you're on the West Coast or in the Midwest, more so in the Midwest, I think, with this method, they love Latin music. Of course they do. But they also love old Latin freestyle or Latin hip-hop stuff, freestyle stuff from the 80s. But they don't want a half an hour of it. And they don't just want you to play one Lil Susie song. So what Art does on the fly is he'll do a mega mix, 10 or 15 minutes tops, of the best of the best of the best freestyle tracks out there. And we're talking intro, verse, chorus, at best, into the next track. That's where that stuff, to me, is a very useful tool. That's when I like to do it. And you can do this with all kinds of music. If you've got a crowd out there that wants to hear Elvis, for instance, I have an Elvis medley that I can play. And it's like 4.5 minutes long. And it's like 6 or 7 different Elvis songs all together, all at once. And Elvis is out of the way because I don't think people would tolerate playing those songs in their entirety for too long. I mean, maybe you could play one track. They're relatively short. But you're going to get more mileage out of playing the medley than you are playing the individual song. So that's when I think the whole quick mix technique is good. There are so many different ways to blend tracks, be it a beat mix or a quick mix, or just back to back, playing radio edits, extended mixes, whatever. You don't have to stick to one formula. I think it's interesting when you're surprising your audience at all times. The way I like to do it is I like to try to empathize with my audience, meaning that I like to try to put myself in their place and ask myself, if I were them, what would I like? What would surprise me right now? What would make me take notice if I was sitting at the bar and not paying any attention to the music? What would make me say, "Ooh, what's this?" and maybe go out on the dance floor? You know, I was with my kid in the grocery store a while back, and I don't know if you do this. I don't know if I'm unique at this, but I'm always listening to what's playing in the grocery store or Home Depot or Walmart or wherever I am. I hear the music that they're playing. We're walking through the store, and I heard something that I liked. I perked up. Ooh, I like this. My daughter said, "You like what?" I said, "The song that's playing right now." She says, "What song? I don't hear a song." To her, it's all background. Because it's at a certain level and there's things happening over it, it all kind of mixes together. And that's kind of how I think that sometimes the beat mix works. You hear the beat, maybe, but you're not really paying too much attention to what's being played. If there's abrupt changes in key, in volume, in male versus female vocal, I think people take notice more so than if it's just kind of in the background and blending together. Blending together, again, is great if you've got a dance floor. I like to do this if I have a client who is asking for a song that I don't think is a great song. I like to sandwich it between 2 really good songs and mix those so it keeps that continuity going and keeps people on the dance floor. But when we're playing the best of the best, sometimes you don't have to beat mix them at all. You know, blend them thoughtfully and tastefully, however you do it. Again, that's your art. I'm not telling you how to do your art, but you don't necessarily always have to beat mix these tracks. You don't always have to quick mix these tracks. You don't always have to word play these tracks. But all of those skills are valuable skills to have in your toolbox, and you need to be ready to use them at any given time. But know why you're doing it. And the best way to know why you're doing it is to empathize with your audience and think about what they might enjoy. Not what, hey, look at me, look what I can do here. I have a skill. Stop it. Do what's best for your audience. Do what's going to turn them on and they're going to like. Whatever that is, figure it out and do that. Quick video for you tonight. Ramble a little bit, but thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your likes, subscriptions, notification bell rings. So you know when my next video comes out. I'm not the biggest YouTuber. I don't know it all. I don't have all the answers, but I'm one of the oldest DJs out there on YouTube, and I've learned a thing or two over my 10 years. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Practice and enjoy.